Hmm. Faithfully delivering value, uncovering great books from around the world.
Hi, this is Sally's Book Talk.
Oh, today we're diving into The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien, a British author. It's this amazing Middle Earth filled with elves, wizards, dwarves, humans, and monsters, all centered on this one ring and its epic adventure. If you've seen the movies, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Back in 2001 to 2003, when Peter Jackson, the New Zealand director, released the Lord of the Rings trilogy, it quickly became a global hit and won 17 Oscars. And wow, The Return of the King grabbed 11 Oscars, making it one of the biggest winners in Oscar history. So, what's your take on this film?
Feel free to drop a comment below.
J.R.R. Tolkien, the author of The Lord of the Rings, was an Oxford professor born in 1892, specializing in Old English and European literature. He spent over 20 years crafting this epic fantasy novel, published in 3 volumes from 1954 to 1955. It instantly captivated readers worldwide with its grand scale and magical imagination, selling over 150 million copies, translated into 60-plus languages, and winning awards like Book of the Millennium. It also spun off into comics, plays, musicals, TV shows, games, and movies. Honestly, The Lord of the Rings has become a full-blown cultural phenomenon. Way back in 1993, the novel first arrived in China in a compiled edition, and now it has multiple translations. For this, we're using the 21st translation by Zhu Shuiheng from Yellen Press. Zhu Shuiheng skillfully used methods like transliteration and adaptation to handle complex translations for Middle-earth, races, and geography. There were, for instance, translators like Ding Di rendered elf as little spirit, making it sound like a cute, winged creature. But Zhu translated it as spirit, better fitting Tolkien's vision of handsome, stoic elf warriors. Internet Denjiwan transliterated orcs as awex, as note, while Zhu called them half-beastmen, matching Tolkien's description: short, bow-legged, long-armed, dark-faced, with slanted eyes and long fangs to highlight their evil nature. Coming up, I'll break down the Lord of the Rings trilogy in 3 episodes.
First, the Fellowship of the Ring. It covers the One Ring's return, Frodo's escape, and the adventures after the Fellowship sets off.
Part 2, The Two Towers, covers what happens after the Fellowship breaks up, each member's journey and the war between humans and evil forces. Meanwhile, Frodo's group begins infiltrating Mordor. In the 3rd volume, The Return of the King, Frodo sneaks into Mordor's heartland to destroy the One Ring. After that, we'll explore Tolkien's inspiration and philosophy behind this epic. All right, let's dive into the first book, The Fellowship of the Ring. It uses flashback storytelling. The story opens in the Shire, nestled in Middle-earth's northwest corner, home to generations of hobbits. But their peaceful life gets shattered when the ring emerges. Then the novel flashes back to trace the ring's origins and Middle-earth's ancient history. Shire hobbits are a human subspecies, petite, averaging about 3 feet tall.
They love corduroy trousers, vests, hoods, and cloaks, with big bare feet that never wear shoes.
They're mostly farmers who adore anything growing from the soil. 7 meals a day, they relish beer, pipeweed, and simple joys. But that peace gets destroyed when the ring appears. One day, Hobbit Bilbo Baggins joined Wizard Gandalf on an adventure, finding an invisibility ring in Misty Mountain's caves. This was the One Ring, lost by a pale, gaunt creature.
Gollum. Bilbo secretly kept it.
So where did this ring come from? What exactly is Middle-earth? And how are races like wizards, orcs, elves, and dwarves created? To explain this, we need Tolkien's other masterpiece, the Silmarillion. He wrote this book nearly his entire life. In 1917, 25-year-old Tolkien began the Silmarillion, working until his 1973 death. It finally published 4 years posthumously in 1977. Like Homer building Greek mythology before the Iliad and Odyssey, Tolkien constructed his mythic universe in the Silmarillion. Here, creator god Ilúvatar first made attendant spirits, the Aenir. hierarchically divided into Higher Valar and Lesser Maiar. The prominent Valar figures include the god of earth and craftsmanship, Ale, his wife Yavanna, the plant goddess, and Melkor, the most powerful Dark Lord. The Lesser Maiar serve as Valar assistants. Numerous beings like wizards Gandalf and Dark Lord Sauron are Maiar, though they later became good and evil respectively. Both were originally Ilúvatar's attendant spirits. Then Ilúvatar and the Ainur created the universe, said to have manifested through sacred music. Within this universe emerged a celestial body with air and light, Earth, flat-surfaced with one vast, desolate continent. At this time, Ilúvatar began creating his children, elves and men, while the Valar shaped mountains and stars to prepare Middle-earth for them. But Melkor, consumed by evil, sought to dominate Earth alone, growing jealous of the elves and men destined to dwell there. This sparked violent conflict with other Valar, unleashing world-shattering battles. As the Valar built Middle-earth, Melkor constantly toppled mountains and filled seas, wreaking destruction. Yet the Valar persevered, repeatedly rebuilding to prepare the land. Yavanna, the plant goddess, sowed seeds, creating flora, making Middle-earth flourish. This fueled Melkor's hatred. He ravaged the continent, rotting plants, fouling rivers, turning beasts savage. In war, he toppled the heaven pillars, causing catastrophic floods. Middle-earth lay devastated. The Valar retreated to Aman and Earth's far west, awaiting elves and men. Against Melkor, they raised towering mountains along Aman's border as protection. Ages passed, lands reshaped, seas reformed, mountains reborn, as Ilúvatar's elves neared awakening. To light the elves' awakening place, the Valar created new stars. When elves awoke, they gazed upon this beautiful starry sky. Elves possessed fair forms and great wisdom, gifted immortality by Ilúvatar. They live as long as the world. When bodies perish, spirits journey to the halls of Mandos for rebirth, receiving identical forms to dwell in, Aman, until world's end. But for the humans who awoke later, Ilúvatar gave them death as a gift. You might ask, how can death be a gift? This brings us to Tolkien's philosophical framework for Middle-earth. For instance, death means bodily destruction, souls departing while humans face aging and sickness, preventing immortality. After bodily death, souls enter another realm, a place even Ilúvatar doesn't comprehend, utterly unknown. In this light, death represents free will, choosing to leave Middle-earth for the undiscovered. Whereas races like elves can't die naturally, their souls remain chained to Middle-earth after bodily harm. Thus, death becomes an unattainable destiny for them. So doesn't that make death seem almost precious? Yet humans squandered this gift, craving immortality instead. Sauron exploited this, offering eternal life to twist humans into terrifying ring wraiths enslaved by darkness. Thus, accepting death brings wisdom, while rejecting it breeds corruption, a central Tolkien theme. This permeates The Lord of Rings as a vital motif. Now let's examine dwarves. Before elves awoke, craftsman god Allah secretly created dwarves, eager to share his wisdom. Impatient for Ilúvatar's children, Allah was chastised but forgiven when Ilúvatar adopted the dwarves, decreed to awaken after elves. Thus Allah hid them underground. Until then, dwarves thrive underground, master smiths, architects, and miners. Ole's wife Yavanna, goddess of life, created the two trees of Valinor, illuminating the Valar's realm. She also made Ents, Middle-earth's eldest race. They'd prove crucial in the War of the Ring. When elves finally awoke, the Dark Lord Melkor discovered them. To defy the Valar, he captured elves, twisting them through torture into orcs. So, orcs were actually elves forcibly corrupted. They're ugly, violent, short-lived, sun-fearing, and obsessed with weapon-making. They became henchmen for evil forces like Melkor and Sauron, often fighting their wars. All right, we've covered Middle-earth's origins, the gods and their creation. Now, let's explore Tolkien's early history, the Three Ages. The first age focuses on Melkor. The Valar, enraged by his corruption of elves into orcs, united to defeat and imprison him. After long imprisonment, Melkor feigned repentance. Following debate, the Valar freed him.
Coveting the Noldor elves' Silmarils, Melkor sowed discord between elves and Valar, plunging Aman into war.
The Noldor elves then waged great wars against Melkor in Middle-earth, finally banishing him from Arda. The Second Age chronicles Sauron's rise in Middle-earth, his wars against human kingdoms and elves ending in his physical destruction.
This brings us to the One Ring's origin, forged by this arch-villain,
Sauron. Originally a Maiar, he served smith god Ale, mastering craftsmanship. Seduced by Melkor, he became his most trusted and dangerous lieutenant. After Melkor's defeat, Sauron hid in Middle-earth, his ambition festering. He plotted to rule Middle-earth, aiming to dominate all life and eradicate elves and men. Sauron excelled at deception and manipulation. Disguised as a fair elf, he tricked Middle-earth's elves into forging 19 rings of power. Each ring possessed unique magic. 3 elven rings held greatest power, resisting time's decay. 7 dwarf rings amassed wealth. 9 human rings granted dominion. But secretly in Mount Doom's fires, Sauron forged the One Ring to control all others. A smooth gold band that resizes. When heated, fiery elvish script glows. One ring to rule them all, meaning the One Ring could dominate all 19 others. Crucially, the One Ring was Sauron's power source and his tool for enslaving Middle-earth.
So when Sauron wore it, he could perceive all actions through other rings and control their bearers' minds.
Elves quickly uncovered Sauron's scheme. They removed their 3 rings immediately to avoid control, but the other 16 rings were seized by Sauron before they could be hidden. Sauron relentlessly attacked elves to claim the 3 rings he coveted most. Weary, ongoing conflict. War between them raged endlessly. Meanwhile, Sauron gave 9 human rings to corrupted men. These cursed rings turned them into invisible ring wraiths, ghosts enslaved to Sauron's will.
Unlike men, stubborn dwarves used rings only for wealth hoarding, resisting corruption, never becoming wraiths.
Yet Sauron reclaimed 3 dwarf rings. Dragons destroyed the other 4. While Sauron hunted rings, the human kingdom of Numenor grew powerful. Numenor's ancestors, Edain, were rewarded with a star-shaped island for aiding elves against Melkor. Numenor's last king, craving dominion, attacked Sauron, who surrendered when outnumbered. Cunning Sauron then exploited human immortality lust, tricking the king into assaulting Aman. But the Valar had forbidden mortals from sailing to Aman, for Aman housed deathless gods, while Iluvatar gifted humans mortality. When humans breached Aman, Iluvatar punished them cataclysmically. Instantly, the world changed. Numenor's star-shaped isle sank beneath waves. Aman was removed beyond mortal reach. Only elves could sail there from Grey Havens. After Numenor's fall, only Sauron-resistant humans survived, led by Elendil and his son Isildur. They sailed to Middle-earth in great ships and founded the Kingdom of Gondor at the Anduin's Delta. As descendants of Western Númenórean royalty, they were called the Dúnedain. During Númenor's war with the Valar, Sauron's spirit escaped his body. Riding dark winds back to Middle-earth, he found refuge in Mordor. West of Gondor and Mordor, Sauron regained form and built the massive fortress Barad-dûr. From Barad-dûr, he ceaselessly attacked elven kingdoms to seize the 3 rings. Facing this, elven king Gil-galad and human leader Elendil formed the last alliance, invading Mordor. Their ranks included half-elven Elrond and Círdan the shipwright from Grey Havens. Together they ignited the War of the Ring. They besieged Sauron's dark tower, Gil-galad's spear Eglo's unstoppable. Elendil's sword Narsil, gleaming with celestial light, terrified orcs and enemies alike. The siege lasted 7 long years. Finally, Sauron emerged personally, battling Gil-galad and Elendil. In the end, both fell to Sauron. Elendil's sword shattered into fragments.
But at the last moment, Elendil's son Isildur grabbed the shards and cut off Sauron's finger, claiming the ring.
Sauron's body perished, his spirit fleeing. Thus began Middle-earth's Third Age. This age chronicles Sauron's whereabouts and the ring's fate. Ringless Sauron abandoned physical form, his spirit vanishing into hiding. Lurking in wastelands, he remained formless for millennia. Yet Sauron's scattered orc armies survived, though defeated. They continued warring against men, elves, and dwarves. Meanwhile, ring bearer Isildur refused to destroy it, for the ring corrupts minds with its lure. Those who succumb become darkness enslaved, Sauron's thralls. Though Elrond and Círdan begged Isildur to cast it into Mount Doom's fire, so Sauron would lose all power, reduced to a hateful wasteland spirit. But Isildur, corrupted by the ring, insisted on keeping it as an heirloom. Ignoring all counsel, he departed with the ring. Isildur became the ring's first victim, its initial corruption. Returning home, he was ambushed by orcs. He slipped on the ring to vanish, then plunged into the Anduin River. But the ring betrayed him, slipping from his finger. Isildur reappeared instantly, shot dead by orc arrows. The ring sank into the Anduin found by riverside hobbit Smeagol. Later known as Gollum, he too fell into the ring's corruption. His personality warped, shunned by kin, banished from home. He wandered into misty mountains' damp darkness, the ring hidden with him. The ring prolonged his life, 500 years in mountains without aging. Meanwhile, Sauron reformed his body, rebuilt Barad-dûr, and rallied Nazgûl and orcs. As Sauron's power grew, the ring sensed its master's call. It betrayed Gollum, slipping away, found by adventuring Bilbo, hidden in the Shire 60 years. None knew this secret. Not even Gandalf recognized the One Ring. Meanwhile, Sauron scoured Middle-earth for his lost ring. To counter Sauron, the Valar sent Maiar, wizards, Gandalf Grey, Saruman White, Radagast Brown. Wisest Gandalf consulted often with Elrond and elves. He journeyed through northern and western lands, uniting races against Sauron. Thus ends the ring's origin and Middle-earth's racial tapestry. Our tale begins at Bilbo's 111th birthday party in the Shire. Year 3001, third age. Bilbo starts his birthday speech. He announces nephew Frodo, just 33, as heir. Then he slips on the ring, a blinding flash, vanishing without trace.
Whoa! All this shocked Shire folks, and Gandalf the Grey at the party.
Gandalf always knew Bilbo had a special ring, but never linked it to the lost One Ring. Today's sight made him suspicious, no doubt. At Bilbo's place, Gandalf convinced the departing hobbit to leave the ring to Frodo. Bilbo held the ring 60-plus years, not corrupted, but obsessed enough to lose sleep over it. He even called it precious like Gollum, but resisted temptation after Gandalf's warning, leaving alone for Rivendell, Elrond's home. He saw Rivendell as a haven for good folk, wanted to write books and retire there peacefully. 17 years later, April 12, 31-8, Gandalf suddenly reappeared when Frodo turned 50.
Turned out, he'd researched war archives and pieced together the One Ring's origin and location.
He told Frodo, Bilbo's ring was Sauron's One Ring. Sauron found Gollum, tortured him, learned everything.
Right there in the Shire, with a Baggins hobbit, Sauron sent the 9 corrupted men, the Nazgûl, racing toward them.
If Sauron got the ring back, he'd command all rings, gaining unstoppable power. Evil would rule Middle-earth. The situation was desperate. Gandalf urged Frodo to flee the Shire, evade the Nazgûl, and take the ring to Mount Doom for destruction. So Frodo took Sam, his gardener, and pals Pippin and Merry, heading for Bree's Prancing Pony Inn. They'd meet Gandalf there. He was gathering allies. To avoid Sauron's spies, they chose the Old Forest route. Created by Valar gods, gloomy, haunted by tree spirits and barrows. Barrow wights terrified Shire folk. The 4 rode horses through shattered woods. Unfortunately, Sam, Merry, and Pippin got trapped by Old Man Willow until Tom Bombadil rescued them with magic. Tom Bombadil, Middle-earth's guardian, is said to be its oldest being, a mysterious figure immune to the ring's power. Even when Frodo wore the ring, Bombadil could still see him. And if Bombadil wore it, he wouldn't vanish. Thus he's the first being completely unaffected by the ring. Bombadil warned them to avoid the Barrow Downs, yet they stumbled into a huge tomb where White's icy steel hands seized them.
In crisis, Bombadil saved all 4, even finding ancient weapons in the tomb.
He gave each hobbit a long dagger for protection. These Dunedain-forged blades could harm ringwraiths. With Bombadil's help, they reached Bree's Prancing Pony, meeting point with Gandalf. Unbeknownst to them, Gandalf was imprisoned by Saruman, but he'd left a letter. At the inn, Gandalf's letter instructed, if absent, follow Strider, Aragorn to Rivendell. There, races would convene to strategize against Sauron. Aragorn, called Strider, was last heir of the Dunedain. Raised in Rivendell, he loved Arwen, Elrond's daughter, yet refused Gondor's throne. Haunted by legacy, he feared repeating Isildur's ring corruption tragedy. Immortal Arwen was 2,690 years older than Aragorn. Later, Arwen chose mortal marriage over sailing to Aman. Aragorn led the hobbits from Bree, first stop, Weathertop's ruined watchtower, hoping to spot Gandalf, but reaching the summit exposed them to enemy sight. That night, 5 black cloud ring wraiths attacked Frodo's camp. In desperation, Frodo slipped the ring onto his finger, instantly seeing the ring wraiths clearly. Pale faces with pitiless eyes, gray robes under cloaks, silver helms over gray hair, skeletal hands clutching steel swords. Stunned, Frodo was stabbed by a sword and collapsed. Aragorn drove off the ring wraiths just in time, but Frodo lay dying. Aragorn warned that without swift healing, Frodo would become a darkness-enslaved waif.
Only Elrond in Rivendell could heal him. Aragorn raced there with Frodo.
At Bruinen Ford, Elflord Glorfindel met them, letting Frodo ride his elven steed Asfaloth, famed for supernatural speed. They outran the 9 pursuing ringwraiths, but the Nazgul regrouped for a final charge to seize the ring. In crisis, Elrond used his elven ring to summon a roaring flood, overwhelming the Nazgul's mounts. Panicked, the ringwraiths plunged into raging waters, ending the Battle of Bruinen Ford in defeat. This marked Sauron's first direct confrontation with Middle-earth since Frodo bore the ring. The defeated Nazgul lost physical forms, retreating to Mordor to regain strength. Frodo brought the ring from the Shire to Rivendell. His arrival was the most critical event since the Third Age began. Elrond convened the council to decide Middle-earth's fate against the ring's threat. Attendees included Elrond, host, ring-bearer Frodo, Gandalf, wizards Aragorn, Dunedain, Gimli, dwarves, Legolas, elves, and Boromir Gondor. Boromir, tall, proud, handsome, was Gondor's steward prince. Elrond recounted the ring's forging and war history, the Silmarillion and 3 Ages saga we've detailed. Then he said worriedly, "As long as the One Ring isn't destroyed, Mordor's evil forces will linger, and Middle-earth will keep facing doom." Moreover, Gandalf brought bad news about Saruman the White from Isengard. "Saruman has betrayed us, allied with Sauron. He's arrogant, proud, jealous of Gandalf. Lured him to Isengard as a trap, interrogated him about the ring, and tried to force him to join Sauron." Clearly, Saruman didn't want to serve Sauron, he wanted the ring all for himself. Gandalf refused to spill the secret, got imprisoned atop Orthanc Tower in Isengard, making him miss his meetup with Frodo at the Prancing Pony. From the tower top, Gandalf uncovered Saruman's secret. "Turns out, he turned Isengard into a den for orcs and wargs, chopping down forests for fuel to make weapons, and secretly building an army to attack Rohan, Gondor's ally." Later, with help from Gwaihir, Lord of the Eagles, Gandalf escaped and made it to Rivendell. At Rivendell, he joined the council. Result? The Fellowship of the Ring formed to escort Frodo to Mount Doom and destroy the ring. In the Fellowship, Aragorn repped the Dunedain, wielding the reforged sword. The rest? Sam, Pippin, and Merry, 3 hobbits. Legolas the elf, Gimli the dwarf, and Boromir of Gondor each spoke for their folk, with Gandalf the wizard leading. At Rivendell, Frodo reunited with Uncle Bilbo, who gifted him something special, a mithril mail shirt that no blade can pierce. Mithril's the priciest metal out there. Dwarves forged it into mail tougher than steel, but light as a goose feather. Oh, and Frodo got a sword called Sting. It glows blue when orcs are close. On December 25th, 31-8, Frodo the Ring-Bearer and the Fellowship left Rivendell, heading for Mordor. On the road, the Fellowship got stuck in snow on Caradhras, turned back, then wolf attacks forced him through Moria, the old dwarven kingdom's mines. Moria was a massive underground city in northwest Middle-earth, home to dwarves for millennia. But dwarves' obsession with mining mithril woke the Balrog, an evil force lurking in the mines. Once Melkor's lieutenant, this Balrog hid deep under Caradhras after Melkor's defeat. When awakened, it drove dwarves from Moria. The Balrog wielded a fire whip with 9 tails and a blade shifting like flaming serpents. Human swords couldn't withstand it. No chance. Legolas wept in terror, dimly covered his face. Only Gandalf could fight the Balrog. In crisis, Gandalf's elven ring flared, its fire resisting the whip. Gandalf shattered his staff on the bridge. It collapsed under the Balrog, whose whip snared his knee, and so Gandalf fell into the abyss with the demon. The Fellowship lost its leader. Aragorn took command, leading them to Lothlorien's Golden Wood. They rested in the Elf Queen's realm, restocked supplies, and planned new routes. Elves gifted each member a custom hooded cloak. These cloaks camouflaged wearers like chameleons. They also received food provisions and 4 elf boats for travel. The lady warned Frodo, "Never attempt to control others with the ring." The Lord advised sailing Anduin River to evade Saruman's forces. As they sailed, Frodo sensed Gollum stalking them since Moria, but missed Boromir's growing strangeness, muttering, nail-biting, staring at him with sharp, restless eyes. As Aragorn leads everyone to camp and discusses whether to head to Mount Doom together, Frodo wants to think it over and slips away alone. Oh, unexpectedly, Boromir has been tailing Frodo, and they wander into the woods. With no one around, Boromir's once handsome, friendly face twists suddenly, eyes blazing with rage. He shouts, lunging to grab Frodo, who dodges, trembling hands pulling out the ring and vanishing before Boromir. Turns out Boromir's been corrupted by the ring. His pride and thirst for power drove him mad. Watching the ring's power start affecting the Fellowship members, Frodo resolves he must leave before the ring causes more harm, or Boromir's grab will repeat. But how could loyal Sam let his master go alone to destroy it? And so Frodo and Sam set off together on the road to Mordor. All right, that's it for part 1, the Fellowship of the Ring. What about Gollum trailing behind them? Can the Fellowship accomplish destroying the ring? In the next part, The Two Towers, I'll continue the Fellowship's journey, especially Frodo's fate, and the war between humans and Sauron's evil forces. Okay, notes for part 1 are below the audio. See you next time.